Well, I just give you a little heads up what's going on today. The cemetery is going to close by 5 o'clock, so we just have 4 hours. So I hope you guys are prepared for this. We have several people that volunteered to make sure that we have a minyan. We always try to have a minyan, so we're going to do the service first, the prayers, we'll do the burial, and then those who came to volunteer probably will go back to their business, and then we'll have time to give a eulogy and hear from the family, and if there is any friends who wanted to share a thought or something, we'll do that as well. We start today with a prayer that we say at the cemetery. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher yatzar eschem badin v'zon v'chilkel eschem badin v'hemes eschem badin v'yedei mispar kulchem badin v'u'asa lachayeschem l'kayim eschem badin Baruch atah Adonai mechayim esim. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who fashioned you in justice, nourished and sustained you in justice, took your lives with justice, knows the sum total of you all in justice, and will restore and resuscitate you in justice. Blessed are you, Lord, who revives the dead. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai mechayim esim atorav lo hishia mechalkel chayim b'chesed mechayim esim rachamim rabim somech noflim v'roifei cholim matira asurim mekayim v'nasor l'sheni yofor nichamoy chabal gevurei simidai melach melech memis mechayim atzliach yeshua v'neman atah lachayis meisim. You are eternally mighty, Lord. The reviver of dead are you, abundantly to save. God sustains the living with kindness, revives the dead with abundance of compassion, supports the fallen, heals the sick, releases the confined, and maintains faith to those asleep in the earth. Who is like you, master of mighty deeds, and who is comparable to you, the ruler who causes death and restores life and makes salvation sprout, and you are trustworthy to revive the dead. In the Bible, when it records the passing of Aaron's 2 sons, the Torah tells us Moses is instructed to tell Aaron, tell your brother not to let his hair grow long and not to render his garments. And from there we know the tradition or the rule that when you lose a loved one, we render our garments. We have a special prayer that we say, and I would like to ask you to stand up. Usually you do it on the right side, but if it's a parent, you do it on your left side over your heart. I'll start this here, and you have to do at least 4 inches.
Okay.
That's contrary to what most people believe. This is 4 inches. That's it. Okay. Let's say a blessing, and then you'll hear it down. Baruch, say it. Baruch, atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam dayan ha'emes. Ashra, you say 3 Psalms. Ashra yish ashaloi halak matzas yeshoim v'derech hatem lo yamad v'moshe blitzim lo yashov. Ki im b'seres hadei chevtzoi v'serosi yegi yomim v'loila. V'oyekei chosro palge moyim asher pira yitim b'itoi v'leolo yiva v'chol asher yasi yatzliach. Lo yichein orishoim kiyim kemoyis asher to defend the ruach. Al kein lo yikum rishon v'mishva v'chatem b'das tzadikim. Ki yedei adinoi derech tzadikim v'derech yishoim toiveit. Everybody understood what I said? So we'll go to Psalm 15. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai miyogo b'yalecha, miyishkan b'harkachecha. Hoylech tomim foyel tzadik v'dei v'emes b'vovei l'rogal al l'shoinoi, l'yos l'rei yirov v'cherpel l'nas l'kroivin, nivzo b'nev nimbas esir Adonai yichabed. Nishba l'or l'yom ekas, v'l'nas v'nesha v'shoichet al nakil l'okach, oise eile l'yimot l'oilam. A song of David, Lord, who may sojourn in your tent? Who may dwell in your holy mountains? One who walks in purity, does what is righteous, and speaks the truth from his heart, has no slander on the tongue, nor has done harm to a fellow, nor cast disgrace towards a neighbor, in whose eyes a contemptible person is repulsive, but who honors those who are in awe of the Lord, who swears truthfully even to personal hurt and never retracts, who does not lend money on interest, nor takes a bribe against the innocent. One who does these things should never falter. In Psalm 23, Mizmor LeDavid Adonai Roy Lo Yechsar V'Nois Deshe Yarbitzeni Amay Menuchos Yina Aleini Nafshi Yishoyev Yancheni B'Magli Tzedek Laman Shemoy Gam Ki Elech V'Geitz Hamoves Lo Yiroro Ki Ato Yimodi Shiftecha Meshantecha Hema Yinachmuni Harech Lefonai Shulchan Neged Tzoreroi Dishanto B'Shem Roshi Koisi Roboya Ach Toi V'Chesed Yirifuni Koyimei Chayai V'Chayoi V'Shavti V'Es Adonai L'Orech Yomim. A song of David, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. God causes me to lie down in lush pastures. God leads me beside tranquil waters. God restores my soul and guides me in the righteous path for God's name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your scepter and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in full view of my adversaries. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for length of days. Traditionally, we know that sometimes you could do an act of kindness where you'll eventually get either a thank you card or somebody who's going to do you back a favor. And then there's some kind of kindness that a person could do that's called chesed shalemus, kindness of truth, that it's pure for the good deeds, for the mitzvah of what the mitzvah is for. And that's one of the mitzvahs that we can do today. Chesed shalemus is bring somebody to the burial where, although you're doing the right thing, and the family definitely appreciates everybody who came out and anyone who's going to participate, but Barry is not going to be able to thank you the way he thanked you until now. And this is a great mitzvah that you're doing it just for the purpose of the mitzvah. And it's the only 2 times that you usually find people on with a shovel. It's either by a groundbreaking or a cemetery. Everything else could be hired out, and I have business cards. If you need somebody to dig, let me know. So what we're going to do is we're going to start now. First, I'd like to ask family if you want to put some dirt. Then we will give everybody a chance. We just don't pass the shovel one to another. When you finish, you put it back in the dirt. There's more where it came from. And then we'll finish up with prayers. We'll say the Kaddish. We have a gentleman, Mr. Newman, that came out. He's going to make sure everybody says Kaddish, and he would like to even say Kaddish for the year. Traditionally, we say Kaddish for the whole year, and then we'll do the eulogy afterwards. We have you guys come up. By now, we are completed of the burial, where we could finish off the service by saying Kaddish, and then those who have another schedule will continue with their day, and then we'll have a chance. I'll say that. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
And I'll say the memorial prayer now. El Moli Rachamim, Sheichem Bam Roimim, Hamtzei Menuchane Chayna Kamfei Ashchina, B'Malois Kidoshim B'Toirim, Kizoya Rekia Mazirim, Es Nishmas, Binyamin Ben Avraham, Shalach Li Olamoi, Ba'avur Shanach Mispal Badas Koras Nishmosoi, Bigan Eden, Tehemunu Chosoi, Lochein Balo Rachamim, Yasti Rei, V'Seisek Nafov Loilomim, V'Yitzroi B'Torachemes Ishmosoi, Adonai Hunach Losoi, V'Yanuah B'Shalom HaMishkovoi, V'Neimar Amen. God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant proper repose in the sheltering wings of your presence, and the lofty levels of the holy and the pure, who shine like the brightness of the firmament. Unto the soul of Barry Morgan, who has gone to his world, and for his memory we pray. May his repose be in paradise. May the Master of compassion bring him under the cover of God's wing and bind his soul in the bond of life. May the Lord be his heritage. May he repose on his resting place in peace, and let us all respond. Amen. Again, family is very appreciated that we had a minyan. Those of you who would like to stick around for the eulogy would also be appreciated. All right. Take a couple minutes to talk about why are we born, and why do we die, and what's the purpose of being in this world, and hopefully this could shed some light on a day like today, a cloudy day like today. The famous question that Moses asked God was, why are there good people that suffer and bad people that have a good life? And the answer traditionally taught was that you'll never understand stuff like that. Maybe later you will see and you could understand why things were reversed. As the verse tells us, where Moses tells God, I want to see you. And God says, nobody could see me and stay alive. I'll put you in a corner, I'll pass by and put my hands over you. You'll see my back, but you won't see my front. And that's one of the explanations that afterwards you may understand. But these are the regular questions, but what is our purpose in this world? Why are we born, and why do we pass away? And most people believe that we are here to perfect ourselves. That we have a job, every person is given a mission, and you have to perfect it as you are in this world. So somebody who's here for 79 years, close to 80 years old, 79, 9 months and 25 days. Am I correct? Got it on, it's all written down. You had a great life, and you had a lot of time to perfect your soul, and now you return your soul to God the way it was given to you. But I'd like to share with you a different thought, that you have to stop and think for a second. If that's our goal, to return our soul to God the way it was given to us, you could just keep it up there, leave it where it came from. If all God wants to have is pure souls, it came pure, let it be, let it stay there. If my goal is, some people, I have a friend that is, he has his car in magazines. He always goes to these competitions, who has the nicest car. He has an old Jaguar that he puts in a lot of money into it. He never drives it. He says, I don't want to take it on the road. I'm afraid somebody is going to get a chip. He just keeps it in storage. He just takes it from show to show. I mean, it's nice to have that kind of car, but you never enjoy it because you're afraid something's going to happen. God gives us a soul, puts a soul, which the soul, the essence of the soul is God, is the breath of God. As God, when God created Adam, it says he blew into him a breath of life. Puts it into a human body. And we're going to be dragging it through the mud. We're going to go up and down. We're going to have good days, bad days. We'll make mistakes. We'll try to correct our mistakes. We even have that in the calendar. One day a year is a day of atonement because God expects us to make mistakes. So apparently God's idea of having people in this world wasn't for them to remain perfect. It was for them to grow, not just doing the right thing, become a better person and return the soul, not the way you got it, in a better way you have gotten it. It's, you got it 100% pure, you're returning it 10,000% pure. And he knows that we will make mistakes, and he still wants us to be in this world and to work every day on becoming a better person. The Talmud gives us a very interesting parable. It says there were two people who were unfortunately handicapped and they couldn't do anything significant with their, one was missing a leg and the other one was blind. And each one on their own was very limited on what they can do. One day they sit down next to each other and one looks and says, look, I don't have any legs, but I have eyes. You don't have eyes, but you have legs. Why don't we team up together? I'll put you on my shoulders and you guide the way, and together we'll do okay. So they became one unit, so to say, and they did a lot of trouble. One day they're caught, they're brought in front of a judge separately. One is in a wheelchair and the other one has his guide stick, and the judge says there is no punishment that could fit the crime because each one individually is not able to do it. I have to put you guys back together as one unit and then come up with a punishment that would fit this unit. So too is us in this world. We cannot do good deeds. We can't do it without our soul. And our soul could have not done it. Soul was never born. Soul is always up there. Soul could have, for thousands of years, could have never done anything good besides being in a body. So therefore, God is going to give this. That was the prayer that we said before. God will keep his promise that he has made to those who are asleep in the earth. There's going to be what we call Tchiyas HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead. Every person who is buried at the time when Mashiach comes, according to our tradition, their soul is going to go back into their body. And they'll get reward for all the good deeds, because again, the body couldn't have done it without the soul, and the soul without the body. So this is, everything over here is temporary. We're here until Mashiach comes, until the Messiah comes. Meanwhile, while a person passes on, until the coming of Messiah, you are in the world of truth, in the Olam HaEmes. Your soul gets returned to its maker, and it gets reward for all the good deeds that it has done. And it's impossible for somebody to live all these years and had so many friends, you know, to just seeing who showed up is a testament of how wonderful Barry was and how many connections he had, how many, he was the top salesman. He could sell ice to an Eskimo, suit to the diamonds. Do you guys need suits? Come on. You know, he had a lot of friends, and many people feel the loss that he's no longer here. But I want you to know that death is only part of the plan. Nobody was born to live forever, and this is a shock that something happened, that they passed away. We were all born to die. And your life, the condition of your life, is not always something that you can choose, but definitely what you could choose is the people that you leave behind. If you gather, if your whole life you're busy being friends with righteous people, with good people, when you pass on, you don't die. You just move on to the next level. Because the way the Talmud refers to children, the children are the feet of the parents. Although he has passed on a physical form, but in spirituality, he's moved to the next level, and that's what he lived up all of his life, to go to the next level, to go to Olam HaEmes, to the world of truth. Leaving over so many friends and family, you should know, especially the children, you should know that it has a ripple effect. Every good deed you do not only makes you a better person, but it has effect on your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents. Every mitzvah, every good deed, and some of the good deeds that we do, we don't even realize. They're so easy. Putting a smile on somebody's face, trying not to cut somebody off, or not to give them the bird after they cut you off. Little things that you do that seem to be so small, but it means something, not only to you, but it means to your father, to your mother, to your grandparents, and all of the departed relatives that you have. And every year, on the yahrzeit, the day of your father's passing, although it's a sad day, if you look at it, like, I can't believe it's been a year since he passed away. It's been 2 years, 3 years. But if you look at it from a spiritual way of looking, the day he passed away is the first day that he stopped being able to do for his own. And all the good deeds that he did stopped. And now he leaves it over to us. Although he didn't like to ask people for favors, but he's waiting for all of us. Every good deed we do, every mitzvah you do, putting in 25 cents to charity, lighting candles Friday afternoon before Shabbos, putting a smile on somebody's face, helping out a friend, making a call to somebody who hasn't gotten a call in a couple of weeks, visiting somebody. All the things that you can do goes on your father's account. And in a year from now, at his yahrzeit, they're going to call him into the heavenly court and see how much have you grown since last year. That growth depends on all of us. So his neshama, his soul, goes higher and higher. Ironically, in the Orthodox synagogue, this is kind of normal. You go to services as early as 6 o'clock in the morning. If somebody has a yahrzeit, we try to go at 6 o'clock because the bakery opens up right before 6. If you go to services any earlier, you have to get a day old and not recommended for friends. But you come with a little cookies, donuts, a bottle of bourbon, and we do have scotch for those who can't handle it. And before 7:30 in the morning, everybody already had a shot. And they say, L'chaim, to life, may the neshama, may the soul have an aliyah, have an elevation. What they're saying is that the soul goes higher and higher. Every year at the yahrzeit, they're going to look at your father and say, how much have you grown since last year? And he's going to grow, because everybody will do something in his memory. Try to take all the good values that he taught them. You know, if you're ever in a situation, you'll say, how would Barry handle it? How would my dad handle it? And hopefully this will elevate his soul. And all of us can do this for him. It is important to ask for forgiveness, because people are sensitive. And people get insulted on the smallest thing, even if you didn't say. If you said something, you did something wrong. If you didn't say something, you also did something wrong. If you looked at them, you did something wrong. If you didn't look at them, you ignored them. So people are always sensitive. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about myself. That's my issues. So we ask for forgiveness, that if anyone mistreated him or wasn't there, or he felt that somebody should have been there for him, we ask for forgiveness. Please forgive them. As well as we ask everybody here, if you had anything that you felt that maybe he should have done different, please forgive him as he's going now to the next level. And we're not looking for any speed bumps anymore. There are many levels of a soul to feel comfortable. As you understand, the soul was hanging out over here for close to 80 years. Now it's returned to its maker. It's in a little uncomfortable spot. It's like somebody who had a cast for 6 weeks. You try to move your hand, it takes a minute. So we say it takes 12 months to be completely back into the normal, the way you were before. First level is, the first part of comfort is when you bury somebody. The soul is at rest now. The soul hovers over the graveside, And that's why we have law in the laws of going to a cemetery. It tells us how to respect the cemetery. You don't eat in the cemetery. Those of you who wear tzitzis, you have the four corner garment. You don't let your tzitzis stick out. You don't show off that, hey, I could still fulfill commandments and you can't. We're very sensitive. We don't step over graves. That's why we have markers. We try as much as possible to be as sensitive. We don't pray close to, except, you know, if somebody has to pray like a mincha service, they go far out, not so close to it. So the first level is the yard site, is burial. Second is the shiva. So I know you guys are going to be sitting shiva, and the words of comfort that we say when somebody sits shiva, even if it's one person sitting shiva, you say it plural, that God should comfort you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. All of you should be comforted, because you're not only comforting the surviving relatives, also the soul, because the soul needs some comfort. 30 days after his passing, the shloshim is the next level, and then you go until the yard site. Once a year has passed, the person is back to, the soul is back to normal, and it's a very comfortable place. He gets reunited. Your father's getting you reunited with his loved ones, with his parents, with your mom. And all of the generations that he knew of before are all coming to greet him. So this is a wonderful mitzvah that you have done. And we have a special cemetery here in Chesed Shalemes, that the goal is not only that people should get buried, but every person should have a place to be buried. We should not use there are cheaper options out there, which is against our tradition. And if anyone ever has an issue, you know, questioning should they go traditionally or not, the funeral home and the cemetery will always be there to help, to make sure that everybody gets a proper burial. As we know, the promise of to get resurrected at the time of Mashiach applies for those who are buried in the ground. Important for us to know more about Barry. I know most of you knew him well, but his daughter prepared a poem, and we'd like to ask her to come up. And we got time. Okay. We got until 5 o'clock. Don't worry. Nobody's in a rush. If anyone else would like to share anything or say something.
I can say something.
All right.
Sure. You going to speak?
I'm going to. You can speak first if you'd like.
Okay. My name is Rick Diamond, and I knew Barry, let's see, I got out of college in '79, and you know, I went into the business, the family business, which was the clothing business, and of course most of you know he was a clothing salesman, and so I guess that's been 45 years. I can't say that, I mean, I did a lot of business with Barry, but I can't say that I was friends with him. We were friendly, we had a nice relationship like I have with all of the sales reps, you know, and Barry was, of course, you know, a force of nature. But we did golf sometimes. We did do that, and I was thinking of a story, and I told you the story, so I'll tell you a little anecdotal thing. We were golfing at Beachmont, and you may know, I don't know if you're going to say it, that Barry was quite a good golfer. And so he did an uncharacteristic thing, and he sliced it. It was on hole number 2, I remember it, 30 years ago. But he sliced it into the other fairway, number 17, and most of us who are not great golfers would have just tried to, I'm sure most of you are familiar with how golf works, you would have tried to hit it back into the fairway that he came from, you lose a stroke, but then, you know, try to get your bogey, but not Barry. And between where his shot had gone on the wrong hole to get to the green, he had to, you remember that hole? Yeah. He had to lift it over trees like what's behind us here, high trees, and it was a 200-yard shot. Now me, I would have never tried that shot. And Barry is aiming for the green. I said, Barry, what are you doing? And he says, I'm going for the, you know, in his New York accent, which I cannot duplicate. He says, I'm going for the green. And he made he made the green. It was an unbelievable shot. And for years afterwards, I remember when I saw Barry, I thought of, you know, he didn't even gloat, you know, look at that shot. It was just like he just went on and that was it. And so I knew him from golf, and of course, like I said, from work. But when he went, but you told me it was 7 years ago that he went into the nursing home. So fast forwarded to now, and 7 years ago is when he went into this nursing home in Twinsburg. And I wasn't, like I said before, I wasn't friends with him per se, but I know what it's like to be in a nursing home, and it's a very isolating experience. Al knows, a lot of us know what it's like to be out there, and plus the fact that he's in Twinsburg, which is not close to any of us, and he has a daughter, of course, that lives here, but otherwise he was really an isolated guy. Not that he complained about it, but I knew he was isolated, and I felt that he needed a friend, and I'd like to think that I became that friend, and I would talk to Barry at least once a week, but more than that, a couple, 2-3 times a week. I'd be with Myrna, and he'd be calling me, hey, what's going on? You know, again, I can't think of it. And so the point that I'm making, that I want to make, is that he never was discouraged by this. Never. He never said, oh, God, I'm 72 years old, you know, when he first went in there. And Barry had it all once upon a time. You know, he was at Beachmont for many years. He made a great living. He had a family, he had a lot of friends. Barry really had it all. And yet, he never said, look where I am now, and, you know, complain about the food like people tend to do there, or any of the complaints that you could have when you're in a nursing home, especially at such a young age. He was always, it's not even that he was positive, is that he wasn't negative, and he was never a woe is me kind of guy. It sort of reminds me of the guy who hit that shot, and he just knew that he could do it, and he never was down about it. And I think I talked to him as much as maybe you, and it was always what's going on. He wanted to know how the reps are doing and how the business is going and all of it. And we would kibitz for, you know, whatever amount of time, and that would be it. And then we talked the next day or 2 days later. I mean, he would miss me, and I missed talking to him, so I would keep in touch with him. So I think I became that friend, and I'm proud to say that I was. But to me, the lesson that I took from Barry, and the rabbi spoke about, you know, to me, you know, when you think of somebody, you want to have a thought like, you know, what's my thought about Barry, and how can I sort of replicate some of the positive mitzvahs that he did? And to me, his positive spirit, to me, is what I'd like to carry forward. So when I think of maybe in my own life, if something's not going great, and I'd like to think I have a great life myself, but we all tend to sometimes focus on negative aspects of our life. But if I can think of Barry Morgan, and boy, Barry never got down. He was there, and he had all the reason to be down, but he wasn't. He didn't think like that, and I think that I myself can do that, and I think it's a good lesson for all of us to internalize that message that Barry, wittingly or not, conveyed to the rest of us. So,
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you for those kind words. Hold on. I have my notes in different areas. Thank you for coming, you guys. Thank you, Rabbi, for everything you said. Thank you for everything that you said. Just by adding on, the first thing I have written down, which is weird, I real quickly, I make my own little journals, and the day that I flip to the page where I'm going to write what I'm reading today, it says, a grateful heart, hustle your heart out. That's one of the main things is my dad taught me, is hustle my heart out. And as we know, if you knew my dad, he was a workaholic, and he made me into a workaholic. He loved work, and he wanted to go back to work when he moved into the nursing home and assisted living. And he's like, I'm gonna work one day. I'm gonna work. I'm gonna provide for you guys again. And one of the things that I had a hard time growing up, I didn't understand for the longest time why my dad wasn't home. And real quickly, I haven't cried since Monday, so I just wanted to tell you that I'm okay. Um, I never understood why he wasn't home. And my sister reminded me today in the car when we were having, some time to come out. He wasn't home because he was working. And he was working so we could go to Acapulco, that we could go to Mexico, that we could belong to a Beachmont Country Club. He wanted to provide for my mom and for me and my sister the best that he could. And he did. He had so many connections that he utilized. I can't tell you the amount of concerts that I had the fortunate time of going to with him. Beach Boys, like front row 3 times. I mean, all the memories I have with my dad, there are so many. I could stand here, like I said, for hours. Or if I didn't say that before, we won't. Because I look forward to talking to everybody later, if you are coming to Shiva. But he would have suit day at the Q, and my sister and I would go and we would help him sell suits to the workers at the Q. And his grandkids, Kaylee, who lives in Washington State and is a lawyer, and my nephew Tyler, my sister's son and daughter, who lives in Alaska, who works for the Space Force. He would bring them, and they got to go sit in like LeBron's chair. Like, he utilized all these connections that he had, and he taught me to as well. If you don't ask, you don't know, whatnot. His love for music, which I just said, but Bruce Springsteen and Cher, you guys know him? He was always listening to them, and my dad loved that I had friends. He loved having people over to the house in Beechwood and having parties, which I see a lot of my girlfriends here that just want to hear my dad's accent again last time, saying page her and, welcome. And he was so welcoming. His positive attitude, he made the best of everything. This is what it is. He didn't want to move into the assisted living at first, but I couldn't watch him the way he was at that point of time, and it was what it was, and I just wasn't going to lose my dad then, and he accepted it, and his relationship with my mom, they would have still been married today if my mom was alive. I know divorce is such a big tradition now, if you will, almost people, but they definitely would have been married today. I'm starting to ramble on, so I just want to leave it on with a poem. And again, I could go into more detail about his life, because he really did have an amazing life, and I am going to miss him like it's nobody's business. But we'll always remember that special smile, that caring heart, that warm embrace you always gave us. You being there for Mom and us through good and bad times, no matter what. We'll always remember you, Dad, because you'll never be another one to replace you in our hearts, and the love we'll always have for you. And my last on that page, think happy thoughts, because you got mind over matter. It's mind over matter. I love you, Dad.
Anyone else?
Can I go again? No, I'm kidding.
Hi. Rob's telling me not to talk too long because I'm we've been together about 10 years, and when I first met Barry, I don't know if he was thrilled or super excited that I was, the new guy in her life, but he acted like he was. He was super nice to me and just really, just took me in, as part of the family. But he'd like to give me a hard time sometimes. I do recall when I went to propose, I went to ask him first, for his blessing, and I met him at a tavern on the east side, and I sat down next to him, and like I said, he never really gave me a hard time before, so I sat down next to him, and I just kind of nervously mumbled it out and said, hey, I want to ask your daughter hand in marriage, I want to get your permission. And he sat there for about seemed to me like 5 minutes, but it was probably only going. Just completely ignored me. Looked around, was watching golf on TV, and I was like, "Hey, Bear." He's like, "Well, what do you think I was gonna say?" Of course, you know. But he made me really, really nervous at first. But he's just that kind of guy, and I don't know. I knew him for a short time, you know, and he had a huge impact on me that I'll never ever forget him. And just the way that he accepted me so instantaneously, like I felt like like he had known me, you know. And we'd talk all the time. And when Robin, she's been having health issues and she was in the hospital for quite a while, he would call me every single day. You know, I'd fill him in on what was going on with her, and he was always telling me, like, going back to what he says, is that he said, tell her it's very important to have a positive attitude. That's the most important thing. And it's just funny that that's what he was preaching to me the whole time she was in the hospital, and then obviously that's the message that you brought up, is so I just thought that was very interesting. But yeah, again, just to me, a force of nature, a powerful man, and just one of the most interesting guys. Has a million stories and a million things that he did, But anyway, that's where I didn't want to go too long. So that's what I have. Thanks.
Another 45 minutes? All right. So to you, Barry, we say, Lech v'shalom, v'snuach v'shalom, v'samud l'gorecha l'ketzi amin. Go in peace, repose in peace, and arise in your ultimate destiny at the end of days. Before we leave the cemetery, I'd like to ask if we have 2 rows facing each other, and you guys you girls, will walk in between, and we say the traditional word of comfort. This will be the end of the service. All right, so they're lining up for you. No, this is fine. Okay. I mean to say, people don't bring like wow, look at this lineup. Oh, honor guard. Wow. Both of you walk.
I'm going to.
May the omnipresence console you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. This completes the service. Please return the flags. Please shut your headlights. I would say turn on the air conditioner, but I don't think it's a reason. Take off your roof. Enjoy the rest of the Shiva today. Will be until 8 o'clock at, good question, Wendy Shapiro's house, 4287 Elmwood Road, South Euclid. Put it in your GPS. All right, please return to your cars. And thank you so much for coming and supporting the family today.